paying for several subscriptions to AI code assistants, and sometimes I absolutely love it, and other times I get a little bit frustrated. I have been using those AI tools for about a year now, and in this video I'm going to show you what to do, what not to do through a little demonstration using VsCode and GitHub Copilot. I'm going to use TypeScript for this demonstration, but the result would be quite similar with any other programming language. So here I'm going to start by creating a song interface, and because song is quite a common concept, the code assistant will be able to guess what I want inside that song interface, and the key really is to be predictable. So when you use good naming and common concept, the code assistant will be able to guess what you want if you create a new class, a new interface, or a new type, or name variables correctly. I can go ahead and also create a playlist interface, and the result will be the same because playlist is quite a common concept. The AI code assistant can help create that interface. Now let's add a create playlist function. When the code suggested doesn't match what I have in mind, I just carry on writing as if the code assistant wasn't there. I try not to accept the entire block suggested by the code assistant. Instead, I will gradually select what I want from the generated code. I feel like that allows me to be a little bit more accurate and precise. I'm just going to add a return type here. As you can see, in this case, for the import, the generated code wasn't correct, but the code completion is correct. So sometimes the code completion is actually better than the AI. In order to generate the documentation for this function, I can use the inline chat using the shortcut Command I and the command /doc. And as you can see, the documentation generated here is quite accurate, I would say. I'm not a big fan of adding documentation everywhere, especially when the code itself is self-explanatory, but I found that Copilot is actually quite good at generating documentation when needed. Another great way of documenting your code is to write unit tests. So let's go ahead and use the inline chat to generate unit tests. This unit test looks quite good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and run the test in the terminal. I'm based in the UK, so before I run the test, I'm just going to fix that little typo to match the UK English convention. So far, we've been writing very predictable code and not giving a hard time to the code assistant. But now let's try to write something a little bit less predictable and see how the code assistant behaves. And along the way, hopefully I'll be able to give you some tips on how to help the code assistant give you better suggestions. So for that, I'm going to add a magic sort function. Of course, only I know what I'm expecting from that function, so the AI code assistant cannot really assist me here. Don't try this at home. This is just for the demonstration. You should always try to have descriptive names in your source code. So what I want in my magic sort is to get a list of songs and sort them using a random criteria. So here the AI can't help me when I type songs. It doesn't know that I want to type songs. And what I can do to give it a hint is to open the song interface, and when I have a file opened, it's part of the AI context and it can give me better suggestions. Of course, in this case, it's not really possible to predict what I want, so the AI is trying to give me a suggestion to sort the songs by the artist and the name. One thing that I can do to help the code assistant is to write documentation for that function. And now with this added context, the code assistant can actually suggest code that matches the documentation that I just wrote. I have just accepted the entire block of code suggested. So now this means that I have to go and review the code generated to make sure that I understand what it does. And if there is a part of the code that I don't understand, I can use the inline chat and type the command /explain. Now I'm going to refactor the code. Instead of using the random number, I'm going to use a sorting criteria. And I'm going to ask Copilot to refactor the code now that I have the sorting criteria. So here it generates code that has some typing error. So I can also ask Copilot to fix that code. Here it's suggesting a fix that I don't really like, so instead I'm just going to write the fix myself. Copilot gives great suggestions, but sometimes it's just more efficient to start typing the solution you have in mind and let the Copilot make some suggestions as you type. You can also select a portion of the code and ask GitHub Copilot to explain something particular about what you've selected. So in this case, I'm asking why there is divided by 2. It gives a good explanation, but I'm still going to probe it to see if it's sure about its answer. Here it confirms its initial answer, but sometimes it can contradict itself. So be careful, it's not because you have an answer in the explain that it's necessarily the correct answer. Now let's generate unit test for our magic sort. So let's just accept whatever is suggested. And here, if I run the test, you will see that it's failing intermittently. So again, sometimes the code generated is not 100% accurate. So yeah, I'm not going to fix this unit test. Maybe if you find out what the answer is, you can put it in the comment. But yeah, the key point here is, yes, you have great suggestions, but always make sure you understand what's happening and make sure that you run and test everything before publishing your source code. So even in this extremely simple use case, there was a lot of back and forth between the AI and I. So do you think I should cancel my subscription to GitHub Copilot? Because personally, I find that constant back and forth, double checking every piece of generated code can get a little bit tiring. And now I have Copilot disabled most of the time, but that's because usually, well, most of the time at least, I know what I'm doing and I know what I want. So I feel like I'm just faster without it. But that being said, I'm not going to cancel my subscriptions to GitHub Copilot. I will continue using it, but mostly on my side project and also to stay current, because I think the tool is constantly evolving between the first time when I used it and now. It's like much better. And it's also good to know when and how to use it, because yeah, just like every tool, it could become one of my main tools in a year when it made more progress. But as of today, it's going to stay a secondary tool for me. So you can watch this video to see my alternative to using AI, or you can watch this other video on how to use AI or not if you want to study something new and want to learn and use AI as a teacher.